I like you, you like me. If I like you, you like me. If I like you, yeah. If I like you, if I like you, and you like me. If I like you, and you like me. Why don't we? Why don't we?
Hello and welcome to Not Another Couples Podcast, live today in Atlanta, Georgia, where Megan just left a concert last night, which is what we're going to be talking about. We have our friend here from California, flew in all the way from San Diego, and boy, are her arms tired. Nice to see you, Caro.
Hi, nice to see you guys.
Yay!
Thanks for having me here.
Yay!
So we met up with Caro in Atlanta for a Stray Kids concert, or rather Megan did. I did not go to the concert. Megan and Caro are big fans of K-pop and just got back from Stray Kids, so thought we'd talk about it a little bit and it might make a fun episode. Let's just start easily. Megan, Caro, how's the show?
If you can tell from my voice a little bit, it was fantastic. I think it was a sold-out show. They've been having sold-out shows all over the United States, and we were at the Atlanta, Georgia stop, obviously, at Truist Park.
Home of the Braves.
Home of the Braves. Not of the Brave, like America, but the baseball team, the Braves. So if my voice sounds shot, I had a little bit too much fun at the concert.
I think it was one of the best K-pop concerts that I have been, and they actually had a great, amazing show. I really, really had the most amazing time of my life here, especially spending time here with you.
Yay!
So, Caro, you've been to quite a few K-pop shows. Who have you seen? I know Megan's seen BTS twice other than this. I've seen them once.
You have to be careful. I have not seen twice. I've seen BTS 2 times. You got to make that distinction there.
Okay. We have seen BTS on 2 separate occasions, or rather you have, and I've seen them once. Both of those were in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And then this is your third show that you've been to.
My third show, yes.
What about you, Caro?
I have seen twice, and I also have seen Blackpink. Stray Kids is my first male K-pop band that I have seen, and let me tell you, this has been one of the greatest shows. Compared to the 2 other K-pop concerts that I've been, they both were amazing, but I think Stray Kids really is taking #1 spot.
You can't see Caro's shirt right now, but she's wearing this Dan to Dan shirt. We've actually been making Megan watch Dan to Dan while we were here in Atlanta.
That's going to be another episode.
Much to her chagrin. But you have the Apta shirt, but it's the characters from Dan to Dan, and I love it. Nice crossover.
But I have to agree with Caro, too, and this is coming from a little bit of a different perspective. Really, the only point of reference I have, as you mentioned, is seeing BTS 2 times. I saw them the first time, I want to say, in 2015. I saw them again in 2017. That was before they really got huge.
Before they were cool?
Yeah, I listened to BTS and liked them before they were cool. Yes, that's my hipster moment. But it had been a long time since I've been able to go to another concert for a while. So we were fortunate enough to get this to work out. This was also our first visit to Atlanta as well. We tend to go to concerts that are based in Chicago because we love Chicago so much. I really like Atlanta, though. I want to make this just like a regular family trip. But I will say this blows BTS out of the water. I can't believe I'm even saying that because I've been a fan for BTS longer than Stray Kids. But this was the best concert I've ever been to.
Don't Google BTS blows Stray Kids on your work computer.
Yeah, no, please don't.
But, sorry, dumb joke. But yeah, Truist Park was awesome. I hung out outside. I didn't want to go to the show. I stayed here and played some Elden Ring and then went to the Battery and had hipster beer. I ended up standing in what I was calling the parent pickup line. I might post something on that to TikTok later because it was funny. But it was like a bunch of dads just like, yeah, waiting for my daughter or niece or something. I'm like, I'm waiting for my wife and her friend. And they were like, what is this Stray Kids thing anyways? And I was like, think boy band, but with more hip hop. I said, think if the Backstreet Boys, but Justin Timberlake really liked Eminem.
That's not far from it. I mean, Truist Park See, here's the thing. The concert itself was absolutely amazing. And then once we were inside, it was fine. We had issues with Truist Park, and anybody who's on the internet and read about this or was actually there, because there were like literally tens of thousands of us there, they did not open the gates to let people in until 20 minutes after they were supposed to, and they only opened it, like the show started at 7:30. People started going through the gates, I want to say like 10 till 6.
Yeah.
They gave people an hour and a half to get people in the gate, and they started the concert 15 minutes late. They actually made the announcement over the loudspeaker, say, hey, we're going to start late due to congestion around the venue. And we've been trying to figure out what the holdup was. And from our perspective, because we were close to the gate, at least I want to say, was that the security team was having an issue, or they chose to have their security team meeting right at 5:30 instead of opening the gates at 5:30. And there are people we've heard complaining online about how they kind of dropped the ball with that one. And they said, like, people were through the gate. Now, those people were probably late, we're about to talk about. But some people, you said, were getting in there like 5 songs after the show started.
That's right. I saw that on TikTok this morning. I saw some girl talking about it, how she had a beef about it. And I truly have to say, like, that breaks my heart for Strays, because they came all the way here. They wanted to see the boys from start to finish, and for them to come in, like, miss a good portion of the concert, like the beginning portion, that really, it hurts me, because they're meant to be with us in the stadium all together. We're all supposed to be there. Another thing I did notice is, even though in the beginning they were trying to make lines, when it was time to get to the gate, there was no line. It was just a pool of people, literally. It was like trying to get in. They only had they had 3 gates. They had 3 gates per floor, and only 1 gate for general admin. And then they later opened another gate on the side. And there was a whole bunch of people just surrounding that gate. And they only had one, what was it, like a security, like X-ray or something like that. A metal detector,
yeah.
Yeah, they had a metal detector. Only 1 for where they were trying to splinter 3 lines. So people were trying to congest.
Yeah, that really is I guess my one and only big complaint here as well, is that they filtered through all of the floor seat people super quick. Like, the teams that were doing floor seat, getting them checked in through the gate, they were super efficient. But the people who were doing the section seats, they really kind of just were supposed to pick up. And then once they got through all the floor seat people, they didn't open the line up to help with traffic congestion. They could have done that. So at least with this security team, kind of dropped the ball a little bit with that. But once we were inside and the concert started, everything was fine.
So, Megan, you said this show beat the 2 times you've seen BTS. What made this show better?
The production values a lot.
There were a lot of fireworks from what I saw from outside.
There were a lot of fireworks.
I will also note, I was surprised how not crowded the Battery was outside, which is what they call the area around Truist Park. I did see not a small amount of people who could not afford tickets but came to Atlanta, or couldn't get tickets but came to Atlanta anyways and were listening from outside.
Oh, they were tailgating. Oh.
Yeah, mostly it was people who were like, yeah, I'm just waiting for my kid. Checks watch.
No, it was also what made this different too. This was kind of the case at the 2017 BTS concert I went to at Allstate Arena in Chicago, but it's really become a thing. I definitely wanted to talk about this in the episode. The culture and the notion of doing freebies before a concert. I don't think that really started to take off until a couple of years ago. And I want to say I gotta give Taylor Swift some mentions here and thank her for starting that. And really the Swifties, because when people were starting to do like the friendship bracelets at her Eras tour, I think that's when people were like, oh, let's do this at other concerts too. This is such a great thing and a great way to make friends and a way for small businesses and Etsy shops to market themselves to. So we got there, I want to say 4 o'clock. We got there about 4 o'clock, and there were so many people surrounding the Battery that like the line for the merch was the biggest part. But there were so many wonderful people passing out just bracelets they made, passing out stickers, passing out photo cards, saying take whatever you like, and some of the nicest people. I don't know the ladies that were behind us in the line. I don't know where they were from, but they were super duper sweet. The family that was in front of me, at least, were from South Carolina. And then here we are from Tennessee and California. There were like all kinds of people there. So the sense of community, I think, is really what made this different for me versus the BTS concert. It's not that I didn't have that at the 2017 BTS concert. I really made an effort to like talk to people there as well. I'm an introvert, so that was big for me. But at this concert, I felt the most comfortable I ever have at a show.
And those two shows were indoor theaters. Those were like theater-y spaces.
Yes, this was my first outdoor concert.
Like auditoriums. Yeah, that's really cool. Y'all had to explain to me why the members of Stray Kids have fursonas. Can you walk me, Caro? Can you walk me through this?
Actually, Meg, can you take this one?
I can.
This started because I was like, why is that person carrying a stuffed duck?
And I had to clarify, look, it's not a duck, it's a chick. But this is actually, this kind of started with BTS, actually, because BTS, I think, has BT21. So now it's a thing that I think it's also the case for girl groups, though it's not as prevalent, but definitely for K-pop guy groups, they all have their cute alter egos or like animals or something. Whereas with Stray Kids, they're called Skizoo, SKZOO, Skizoo, because they're animals. So the leader Bangchan, he has a wolf named Wolf-chan. Lino, this goes from oldest to youngest. Lino has the rabbit Leebit. I had to remember all this last night. Changbin is Dwayki, which is a pabbit, a pig-rabbit crossover, so he's pink. Hyunjin is Jinneret, the ferret. Han is a quokka. Felix, who you thought was the duck, is actually a chick named Bakari. Sungmin is the puppy M, and Ian Jungin is the fennec fox.
Who's the partner to Naruto, Hokage of the Leaf.
Foxy, that's it.
Why is Felix not Felix the cat?
Copyright, most likely.
Oh,
yeah.
fair.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, for a while, too, I think they also have, like, their own specific emojis to identify themselves on, like, Bubble or different texting apps and stuff. So
I just can't wait for this episode of Hell of a Boss.
But, no, a ton of people had, like, the animal, like they were on their top like light stick covers. They had the headbands, they had the plushies, they had the keychains. It's really just another marketing ploy, another way to make money for bands, but it's cute. It's fun.
We'll talk about that later. I have a whole soapbox. But very good. I'm glad y'all had a good time. It's been nice getting to hang out. Caro, we get to see you like maybe once a year or every other year. So it's always good to hang out. We've been sitting here. I made breakfast this morning. We went to an awesome breakfast place yesterday called Breakfast Boys. It was like a soul food brunch type of place. It was, oh man, it was so good. And a K-pot hot pot was also really, really good.
Yes.
So apparently we went to the wrong one because apparently Stray Kids was at a hot pot place.
No, that's not what happened. There was another K-pop. There was another hot pot place that had K-pop karaoke, and a bunch of the fans were all gathered together, singing together on the karaoke. I saw later.
One of these days, we'll make a Patreon and we'll make that a bonus episode. We'll fly Caro out, and you two can live stream some K-pop karaoke.
Oh my!
Well, we need to get together anyway more often because she is our kid's not grandmother. Excuse me. No, godmother. Excuse me.
Oh, you age me up.
back there for a moment.
No,
I didn't mean to. I promise. Slip of the tongue.
Because of course you came to our hometown for our kids' baptism. We've met up in Chicago. Are there any other? We went to Gatlinburg together. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Stopped at not Helen's. Hattie B's Hot Chicken in Nashville. That was a good time.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll do something else fun again soon.
We need to take her to a Waffle House. We've got to do that.
We didn't get a chance. Caro informed me she can't fight, so we didn't go to an Atlanta Waffle House.
No.
Though we do got to take you for an all-star breakfast. That's the only way to go.
We really do. We need to make that a thing.
Figure out what your hash brown order is. Megan, what's your hash brown order?
Cooked extra crispy with ketchup.
Smothered covered in caps.
Yeah, I'm not that fancy.
All right. Well, we're going to go hang out at Ponce City Market downtown. And Megan and I are going to record a little bit more of this episode, probably on Father's Day. So we'll catch back up with you then. But for now, bye.
Bye.
Hey, we are back. We're back home. We are Caro-less, which is sad. Caro, we miss you if you're listening. But we just wanted to record a little bit while we were in Atlanta. But we're home and want to finish the episode.
It's about 5 days later after the concert. My voice is still sort of recovering a little bit, hence why I'm a little hoarse, but still worth it. Still worth it.
Yeah, so it was like the next day that we recorded. And everyone was very tired. I want to shout out real quick, and you can call this an ad. They're not paying us or anything. I really want to shout out our breakfast spot from the day of the concert.
Yeah.
Breakfast Boys in Atlanta is incredible.
It really is.
I know. Megan, you had like French toast that was like sort of like pineapple upside down
I
cake.
had the French toast with, it had a slice of pineapple and a cherry, but they also had chicken sausage. But the way they made their French toast and taking like bites here and there of the pineapple slice was just immaculate with the powdered
so
sugar.
good. And I had catfish and grits with a couple over medium eggs, and man, was it so good. This was in College Town, I think was the name of the area. It was near the university. And one of my favorite things was I showed you a picture of it because I couldn't help but take a picture. The bathroom wallpaper was flamingos, and I know you love flamingos.
Well, there's a teaching technique / joke I have at work that I teach my students on how to teach them proper tap technique to stand like flamingos. So that's where that comes from.
But it was really good. It was this combination of like brunch and like Atlanta food and soul food. And it was really good. And it was really nice to support a Black-owned business.
Yes.
So please check out Breakfast Boys if you're ever in Atlanta.
You will not regret it.
Very worth it. We also took some time to go by a local mall. I'm forgetting the name right now.
I am as well, but it was like an indoor-outdoor situation. They had small businesses, which we shopped at. They also had name brand businesses there as well. They had like a Lululemon and like a Rolex store, but they also had like a small bookstore that we went into. We got some books and stuff and stickers for our son. I got an Atlanta magnet. I collect magnets wherever we travel. And we also got into a toy store, a small business toy store that actually we got a little submarine for the bathtub for our kid.
I grabbed a cookbook and a sticker that was basically like stealing from corporations isn't stealing, which, sorry, not sorry.
Your sticker with the banana on it also said banning books is bananas.
And it is.
It's
If you're
pretty
listening
great.
to this, I am an English teacher, and banning books is silly. If you see a book that has been banned, you should read it. I did want to talk about one of the big things for our trip that has nothing to do with the main topic. We did stop at Buc-ee's on the way there and back.
An honorable mention. I personally love Buc-ee's. I love Buc-ee's so much.
I am anti-consumerist enough that I'm not going to go that far. It is fun. They have great snacks. They have great bathrooms.
They have great jerky.
They do have really good jerky, and I do love the jerky bar. But no, Buc-ee's is a fun stop. I don't want to go too far into this. We have some Texas friends that are big Buc-ee's diehards.
When we made that trip down to visit them in Austin, we actually visited like 3 or 4 different Buc-ee's in one day. And
Yeah, we stopped at the OG.
That was a life-changing experience.
I go too far, but really.
I like that outside of the Buc-ee's branded stuff, it's local stuff. So like if you go to like the hot sauces, it's local companies, and the wine is local wine. I think that's pretty cool.
It is. They had actually my favorite brand of wine there, and I was surprised about that. All the way in Atlanta, Georgia, they had, well, not Atlanta, it was Calhoun, where the Buc-ee stop was in Georgia. But still, they had my favorite brand of wine, and I was excited.
Yeah.
And actually, right here next to us, they recently started selling candles in their signature scents. Like they had a Beaver Nuggets one. I didn't get that one. I have the chocolate fudge Buc-ee's candle, and it smells amazing.
It is filling the game room right now where we record, and it is very nice. Going back to our actual topic, we were in Atlanta for a K-pop concert. Megan, of course, I asked you for your initial response. You've had a moment. Would you like to talk about your concert experience?
Absolutely no regrets going to this concert whatsoever. Really, Stray Kids themselves are amazing. I've been a fan, I want to say, right up to the time before our son was born. I want to say about right up to the time where we found out I was pregnant, roughly around that time, I became a fan of Stray Kids. I've also been a K-pop fan for like going on 13, 14, 15 years.
Can I interrupt you real quick with a couple questions? One, you got into K-pop before it was like a popular American thing.
Yes.
How did you like get exposed to that?
My best friend, actually.
Brit? Are we talking about Brit?
We're talking about Brit, yes. But
will she care if we mention her name?
No, I don't think so. No, she and I, that's another really good best friend of mine on the internet. I've also known her for several years, almost 2 decades. But
you've done a good bit of the like socializing online. Like you have a lot of online friends.
Yeah. Well, 2 really close, one of whom came with me all the way to Atlanta, Georgia to go to a concert.
Yeah.
So she got me into K-pop, let's see. First of all, with a group that no longer exists but is under a different name now with less members. There's Beast, now called Highlight. Then we got into UKISS, then came BTS, and then came Monsta X, and then now it's Stray Kids. We kind of rotate a little bit, but she tries to keep me in the loop of like really popular boy bands. But I do occasionally listen to Blackpink. I'm not too much into the girl groups, but I've been a fan, needless to say, for a long time. And yeah, I kind of got into, when was I a student teacher? I want to say that's when I became a fan of BTS. So I was
2015.
Long before. I've been like 15 years a fan of K-pop for a while.
When we started dating, you were a BTS fan as the main thing that you liked, and I took you to a BTS concert and then took you to another BTS concert where I didn't go. It was in Chicago, which is like our favorite like vacation destination, and I went and hung out at a Marlon Brando themed piano bar that night.
You had a good time too.
I love Chicago. We should have another episode where we just talk about how much we love Chicago.
We really should.
And how we eventually are probably going to move there.
Maybe when we retire.
Yeah. But I am curious, like you moved from like really diehard BTS fan to like you like them but meh, and now you're like, what caused that transition from BTS to Stray Kids?
Their mandatory military service. A lot of people kind of, I mean, I am definitely still a fan, and it's funny you actually mentioned this because they're actually about to reunite, because all 7 of BTS, roughly within months of each other, decided to do their military service. So it's been, I want to say, longer than our boy has been alive that they've been serving in the military. And there's one more member, Suga, that has to finish out, and he's got literally days left to finish out his military service before BTS finally makes a big comeback.
Sure.
And, you know, part of it too with BTS is, you laugh at me all the time for this, but for lack of a better way of phrasing it, they've gotten insanely popular. And I don't know. The fan culture with BTS Army is a little different these days. They're much younger, which that's not a bad thing. That's how a fandom stays alive.
Yeah.
But
Stephen Colbert is a big fan nowadays.
I know. It's kind of crazy. But it's more of like, why have just one slice when you can have the whole cake?
Sure. Do you dislike that K-pop is becoming more popular in the U.S.?
It's not that I dislike it. It's the fact that it's made it more and less accessible, in that you can easily get a hold of any K-pop merch now. You can easily get anything shipped to the U.S. There's a lot of people that make things K-pop related.
Yeah,
you
we
can
see
buy
that
albums in stores now off of department stores and grocery stores.
Yeah,
that
I was about to say,
albums.
anytime we go to Walmart or Target, we see albums everywhere.
There's specific shelves for them now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, well, I'll say one more note to the more accessibility that'll add into the less accessibility now. They have K-pop bands regularly touring America now. Before, like, even just about 10 years ago, that was kind of rare. And there were several venues that didn't take it seriously. I mean, my first BTS concert back, and I want to say 2015, because it was before we were married.
Yeah, it was 2015, 2016. It was at the Rosemont Theater.
Yeah, it was relatively small. This was like in an actual theater, like not even like a big one either, like Carnegie Hall. This was a small theater that they had this
That was the
tour.
one that I attended. And can I break in real quick?
Well, you broke in a lot. Let me finish my thoughts.
I'm sorry.
We can revisit this.
Yeah.
I haven't even finished what my thoughts were on your original question for the Stray Kids
I'm
concert.
sorry. Okay.
We're kind of going off on a rabbit hole here. But to the note of it making it less accessible, now it's even harder to go see your favorite artist because they're charging so much money for tickets. And I kind of talked to you about this in the car on the way back home from Atlanta, is that I fear there's a part of me that fears this may have been the one and only time for me to see Stray Kids, because they're only gaining in popularity.
Yeah.
In fact, they're regularly making headlines at every single tour stop they've made so far. And they have like several more stops in the Americas. Every single show that they've come to in America thus far in this Dominate tour is sold out shows. Every single one sold out, breaking records. And it's kind of amazing. But at the same time, the more popular they get, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to get a hold of tickets.
Which means those 2026 tickets are going to be astronomical, like BTS was.
They're teasing another encore tour for next year. I don't know. Those are rumors, but
touring every year is nuts, by the way.
I'm actually quite worried about them, that they're not getting enough rest, but they love to work, so
I'll talk about that parasocial relationship in a minute.
But back on the whole, my experience at the Stray Kids concert. First of all, the production values were absolutely phenomenal. It was the best show that I've ever been to by far. There were a lot of pyrotechnics, there were a lot of lasers, there were a lot of giant screen, like the entire backdrop of the concert was screens the entire time, and they made excellent use of it. They had a lot of animation, they had close-up camera shots that made it easy for everybody to see. But I was sort of in a spot where my best friend and I, Caro, could easily still see them. We had to squint a little bit if we wanted to look at them on the stage, but you could still easily spot who was who and all that good stuff.
Sure.
We were kind of like in the middle. We were club level seats at Truist Park. But let me say this, while the show itself was great, Truist Park really dropped the ball on this.
I wanted you to talk about this. I've seen a lot of stuff about this. And I may disagree, having been that I've worked on the other end of this.
Sure.
I want to hear your I've seen some of the online discourse. I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm curious if I agree.
So as somebody who experienced this nearly firsthand, So Caro and I started to line up to get into the gate about an hour and a half before the concert started. There were still quite a few people lined up, but we were in a position that we could still easily see the gate. You know, we weren't too far behind in line, but there were also people that were starting to line up behind us too. Like, oh, people are starting to line up. We better go line up too. Unfortunately, there were several people who you could tell never been to a K-pop concert before, and they arrived like 30 minutes before the gates were supposed to open, and it was literally, I kid you not, the lines were a mile long to get inside, maybe even longer. And, you know, we were all super excited. So the concert was supposed to start at 7:30, and they were supposed to open the gates at 5:30, which Caro also talked to me about this later, since she mentioned that she'd seen twice. She mentioned that when she went to that concert, they allowed people to start coming into the venue 4 hours ahead to prevent this exact problem that I'm about to describe. Well, Truist Park did not open the gates at 5:30, which is only 2 hours before the concert was supposed to start. Instead, they opened the gates about 10 till 6. 10 till 6 with tens of thousands of people to get into the stadium to watch a concert that's supposed to start in about an hour and a half. That was not near enough time. Now, once again, because Caro and I thought to get in line an hour and a half early, we were lucky. We got to our seats in plenty of time. We managed to grab a bite to eat because for anybody who's planning on going to a K-pop concert, you need your energy. Eat and drink water before a concert for sure.
That's just good concert advice.
It really is. But we were looking out the line out the window because we were in club level and next to the food stands with the windows and everything. There were still people about 5 minutes before it was supposed to start. People still lined up down the street to get inside. And we go to our seats at 7:30 and we figured there would be a delay. Yeah, so at about 7:45, they announce over the loudspeaker, hey, we're going to start late due to congestion around the stadium. And we're thinking, well, yeah, because you only opened the gates an hour and a half before the show is supposed to start. So we're already 15 minutes late. Totally fine. Caro and I are good. We don't care if we're there late. I don't think anybody else cares that they're going to be there later than they planned on anyway. But 5 minutes later, they start the show after that announcement. And we're thinking there's no way they got that many people in 5 minutes after that announcement. So what we heard later on TikTok, because as they're starting the show, Caro and I are looking around and we're like, this is not a sold out show. There's still so many seats that are open. Even the sections, besides the sections that they quarantined off because it would be bad view, there were still so many empty seats and people still coming in as they were starting the show 20 minutes late. That's not on the artist. This is not on Stray Kids whatsoever. This is a big mistake by Truist Park. And in fact, we found out later that there were people outside still trying to get in as the concert started, and they missed the first 5 songs of the concert. That's a good 30 minutes into the show. That's why people are so upset at Truist Park, because this is the home of the Atlanta Braves. It's not like they're not used to dealing with thousands of people coming into a big event and there for hours. They are totally used to doing something like this. So it's my personal opinion that they did not care. They did not care who this concert was, or they just weren't prepared for how popular this group was supposed to be. So they really dropped the ball on this. Stray Kids themselves, absolutely wonderful, fantastic, one of the best nights of my lives. I just feel extremely bad for the people who had to suffer because of Truist Park's mistakes.
Sure. I want to caveat, I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong in any way. That's a lot of missteps. I am curious. So having worked at roadhouses quite a lot and having been a light guy and a sound guy, I wonder how many people were like Truist Roadhouse staff versus like people with the touring act. Most likely a lot of folks were Atlanta natives that were like working the stadium on a night, and they were just told like, this is what to expect. I've worked Miss America concerts. It's probably the biggest thing I've worked.
You did the Miss Tennessee pageant, yeah.
Yeah, and part of the Miss America circuit. That's probably one of the biggest events I've worked, where in reality, the in-house staff, we were like 5 guys, and the rest of folks were with the act.
At the Carl Perkins Civic Center still at the time.
In Jackson. And I would be curious. I'm not saying it's not a misstep. It definitely sounds like a misstep. And delays are expected.
Sure.
If a concert starts 20 minutes late, that's on time.
Sure. Yeah, like, it's not the fact that they started 20 minutes late. It's the fact that they started when people were still trying to get in. They paid hundreds of dollars to see their favorite group, and they're getting shut out and missing a good part of the show they paid to watch.
Sure. I have a question, and this is me being curious. I'm not saying anything. I know that with K-pop stuff, like the tailgating and the hanging out outside is a big part of that.
Yes.
Do you think that people hanging out outside and not wanting to go in on time was a part of that? I'm curious. I'm not making an accusation. I'm curious.
No, that's actually a fair question to ask. There is a tailgating culture to these K-pop concerts. I actually wanted to briefly talk about that.
That's something I'm really curious about.
Because this really wasn't a thing, at least for me, from what I witnessed. This really wasn't a thing until I got to give credit to the Swifties. I got to give credit to Taylor Swift and her fans. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan myself. She's grown on me, but
I like Taylor.
she's all right. She's all right. But back when I went to see BTS in 2015 and then again in 2017 when they were at Allstate Arena, this whole culture with especially the freebies, people go out of their way to make little things like I have silly band bracelets, I have beaded bracelets, I have a pen decorating kit that I just worked on last night. They had like beads they provided that you could make your own pen with it. They had photo cards, they had photo card stands, they had keychains. I have several things from the concert, and everybody was unbelievably nice. They go out of their way to make little things to hand out to the rest of the fans.
You handed out a little bit of stuff this time.
I handed out some stickers that I didn't want, actually, and I said, take as much as you want. I just want them to go to fans that want them. I already picked what I wanted. Caro had already picked what she wanted, and we were like, there's so much left. Let me share. And it's about sharing the good vibes. It's about positivity and building up to something that we've all looked forward to for so long. We, as in the people who are going to this concert.
I want to just say real quick.
I knew you were going to mention this.
No, I just want to say real quick that this is something I really appreciate and like before I get on a rant later. That's all. I think this is cool.
But there were a lot of people who had free things to give out, and it really was just great. I wore my bracelets to work this week, and everybody was asking me about it, especially with my chipped nail polish that eventually came off. But yeah, it really is a tailgating experience now that I didn't get to have at BTS. And again, I think this really started kicking off with the friendship bracelets at the Taylor Swift Eras tour and really promoting positivity and, for lack of a better way of phrasing, peace and love, everybody. Let's have a good time. Let's all have a good time together and have friendship bracelets, keychains, all this fun stuff that just because you're a fan, you're a friend. Here, have this free bracelet that I made. And it was also really cool because it was a lot of ways for Etsy shops and small businesses to promote themselves too. They had business cards there as well so that they can promote their Etsy shops. And I thought that was really nice. But no, yeah, tailgating, as far as that goes, I don't think there were many people that's like, oh, I don't want to go in yet. I don't want to go in. I don't want to miss out on my freebies. If you're that kind of fan, you're in the wrong place. But no, really, when we were waiting, literally at 5:30, there was somebody at the front of the gate, at least at my gate, because I was at like close to the south gate. We were counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way to 5:30. because we were all so excited to get into this concert. It was more about that we really just wanted to get inside. Nobody was hanging out that I knew of. Specifically, like, I don't want to go in yet. I got to get one more. Maybe there were some people who were like, let me just get one more drink before I go in, blah, blah, blah. And all
I
that
definitely
stuff.
saw some people who drank way too much.
Oh, yeah.
For you.
I mean, sure. Absolutely. I mean, it's a concert,
Yeah.
of course. And several concert goers there were adults. So, I mean, come on, for sure.
Yeah. I'm not calling anybody out.
But no, I don't think the problem of people wanting to stay outside a little longer before the concert and after they opened the gates contributed to that. I think it had more to do with the fact that, one, Truist was not prepared for the numbers. Two, they didn't really care. And three, there were people that kind of did not plan properly and kind of showed up 30 minutes before a big concert was kind of a fumble too. So
Sure.
It has a little bit to do with the concert goer's fault, but more to do with the venue's fault.
Yeah. I'm going to balance that out by saying that I really enjoyed hanging out outside of Truist Park and the Battery. I jokingly ended up talking with several dudes. I hung out at a place called The Tavern, which was near the right field gate. I had a little booth to myself that I kind of claimed, but I ended up talking with a lot of guys that were like hanging out on the curb and were calling themselves the parent pickup line. And like I talked with multiple people that were like, yeah, I'm waiting for my daughter and my niece. And like my wife and her friend are in there.
You were the only guy that was waiting for your wife, weren't you?
I was, and rather than I spent a little while talking to a dude who later I learned as he was talking, he's like, I'm from Florida and I like what our governor is doing. And I was like, okay, we're done talking.
Oh, yeah. Let's not get into that. Well, it's funny you mentioned the whole, like, they're from Florida thing. We actually met several fans that were from different parts of the South. You mentioned, I didn't know about the Florida. I think we mentioned earlier in this episode, there were some people from South Carolina. Of course, there were Georgia natives. I know online there were a couple people that said they were from Kentucky. So they drove only a little bit further than we did.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of cool. It's also kind of cool just to have everybody from different parts of the country come together for one big show. And I was thinking about this earlier upstairs today, actually. This is no different than a convention.
Sure.
It's the exact same thing, except we're all there for music. We're all there for one band,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all there to just have a good time and geek out as fans.
I will say from an outside perspective, I went to the first BTS show. For those listening, I'm not a huge K-pop fan.
I have crowd anxiety, and that's how I knew he loved me and we were ready to get married. He went to a K-pop concert with me.
So I love a good concert. I'm a big fan of music. K-pop is not my favorite. I will go if Megan wants me to, and I've been. But regardless, for this particular case, I was like, I'm gonna let Megan and her friend go, and I'm gonna not be in the way of their good time. And I hung out and just enjoyed a few good craft beers outside. I will say the Battery is a great place if you have someone that wants to go to a show and you don't want to. We stayed nearby. We had an excellent Airbnb. I went to a tabletop gaming shop, bought a couple board games, went to a farmer's market.
They had a lot of really good shops down there. I wish I had had time to explore.
Yeah. And then came by the Battery, went to a gamer pub place that was really cool.
They had like an arcade there too.
Yeah, but mostly stayed at this place. I forget the name of it. I'm sorry if you're listening. That had like 120 different. It was like the best beer selection in the South.
Mm-hmm.
I am a nerd for good brew, so it was a good time.
So you're a Brewster?
Oh no,
Punky Brewster?
no. But largely, I sat outside and listened to the Vampire the Masquerade campaign I'm listening to.
Nerd.
I am a nerd. I know who I am. While Megan enjoyed her concert.
Meanwhile, extra nerd, just a different type of nerd.
Yeah.
You took a video and posted on TikTok, actually, of how loud we were inside the stadium.
I enjoyed the fireworks from the outside. I won't lie.
It was even cooler on the inside.
From a tech perspective, for those listening, I've worked on and off in the concert, technical side of things. I've worked in light and sound and pyrotechnics on and off for about 12 years. I've worked concerts. I've worked pageants. I've worked theater and just about anything you could imagine. I have a particular love of pyro. I think pyro is really cool, and I've gotten to work. Miss Tennessee, other than this, has probably had the most pyro that I've gotten to work with. I saw more pyro and more fireworks out of that concert than anything I've seen in a minute. And that was pretty cool. You showed me some stuff of previous concerts in the area and some trust that they had over each of the bases. What did that end up being, out of curiosity?
Okay, so I have to personally say, I get the reason why they chose baseball stadiums to have their shows at, but
there were better areas in Atlanta.
Yeah, there really were. We were talking about this in the car too, but a lot of us online agree that the reason that they had these at so many of the baseball stadiums, apart from Camping World in Orlando, Florida, which just happened,
they had to deal with MLB.
They do a little bit. They do have some specific jerseys, I think, but also it probably was one of the few outdoor venues in each major city that could fit tens of thousands of people and would allow for their pyrotechnics and fireworks, because Stray Kids does a lot of pyro. But me personally, I would much prefer an indoor I forgot about SoFi as well. SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. So SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles is the only indoor one on the American tour that I'm aware of. And Camping World Stadium in Orlando, I think, is more of a football stadium. I'm not sure. I forgot to look into that. But otherwise, they've performed they're going to play at the same stadium as the Chicago Cubs. They just played at the Atlanta Braves. They were in Seattle in the same area as the Mariners. And then Texas, they played in the same stadium in Arlington for the Texas Rangers. So they do sort of have a deal, like a branding deal, but also I'm sure it was the only place that would allow for the full extent of what they have to offer for their shows. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they chose SoFi Stadium because that is probably one of the largest concert venues in America. BTS played there, I think one of their last concerts before they all went on military. So it's kind of a legendary place for K-pop concerts to be held.
Sure.
So that being said, because I know this is one of the things we were going to talk about, indoor versus outdoor. I prefer indoor simply because there's always that threat of weather. Mm-hmm. There's the element of the elements. We were lucky enough that we were in a place where there was a lot of cloud cover, but there was a lot of rain a few hours before the concert, and a lot of people who lined up for tailgating and also for merchandise got poured on. There were pictures of it that got online. I'm glad I didn't do that. Just having to deal with sudden rainstorms. And then we were lucky enough, we were in an area where there was a lot of cloud coverage. Mm-hmm. So we didn't get a lot of sun. We did plan for it and got sunscreen we ended up not using. And then having the fireworks is great, but I would trade that over having the luxury of being indoors. Also air conditioning. But for the Atlanta concert, the temperature wasn't really that bad. We had a nice breeze the whole time. It was 72 degrees to 68. Really nice. I know Orlando, it was really hot. Obviously, in Orlando, it's very hot and humid. So personally, I prefer indoor. Haven't done 2 K-pop concerts indoor twice. But, Stray Kids was still awesome outdoors. And I get why they did it outdoors, at least.
I feel like this is a good point for me to go on my little K-pop rant.
Whatever you need. I've already heard it before. Now you have to hear it, listeners.
So I don't dislike K-pop stuff, But coming from like the type of music I like, I'm really interested in the like consumerist bent. That there's like trading cards and the albums are like there's multiple versions and you get different trading cards with it.
Now, I want to stop you for one quick second and go on the record. I don't necessarily agree with all this consumerism.
Yeah,
So
I know.
please go ahead.
I just like the Korean music industry really commodifies their artists from what I've seen. And I don't know, I come from a place where like I'm a big fan of American rock and roll. And like I think towards like John Fogerty and Taylor Swift and other folks' attempts to get away from the record labels. Mm-hmm. And it feels like there's this like odd parasocial relationship in K-pop as these artists move towards the US where there's maybe a little more money to be made. And it gets really, really meta in a way that is odd to me sometimes. And I don't want to get too far into it, but I just wanted to just say that sometimes the like meta, like parasocial relationship in K-pop is a little strange to me on occasion.
No, you have a lot of valid points there, to which I will also talk on a little bit. I think because you mentioned the whole like trading cards, specifically they're called photo cards because they have different photos of all the members. It's really no different than any trading card game. You're right.
Except they're real people and not Pikachu.
Yes. But like there are some where like, oh, this picture was printed only 100 times, so it's rarer and all this stuff. And me personally, I feel this way about anything that has to do with cards and a little bitty piece of paper. I think it's stupid to have to pay so much money for a little tiny piece of card.
As a Magic the Gathering player, I can't argue with that too much.
I think it is absolutely silly.
Except I can say that Teferi isn't a human in Seoul.
I mean, to my defense, all of the photo cards that I have upstairs were all given to me for free. Free. I hadn't had to pay a single penny for it.
I needed to be known that I'm not calling out my wife right now. But
I'm going on record. You're not calling me out. I'm going on record. So nobody judges me.
I'm not calling you out. But it is strange to me. Like, I hear and see the things. And I'm just like, well, no, just go to the show.
I'm on the side of K-pop, at least in the fandom, that I don't buy the albums unless they're like at McKay's and they're like on a really good sale for like $15 a piece or something. Sure, I'll jump at that opportunity. I will probably buy a shirt or two. I don't buy the photo cards. I don't buy the albums at wholesale. I stream them on Spotify. Yeah. I listen and watch all the music videos and I support them in that way. But I don't really try to spend too much money on something like this. Concert, that was a specific event that I did my best not to.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's the consumerism of K-pop is kind of out of control at this point. I will say that for sure.
I think the main thing that I sometimes have like noticed you doing, and I'm not trying to call you out. I'm sorry if it comes across that way, but I've noticed you doing this and I've noticed it being a thing that I've seen across the like fan base and like talking about like when like responding to a thing being like, we saw this. Or like using like we as the pronoun for like responding to things.
And I've been so self-conscious of it ever since.
I don't, you shouldn't. It's not a bad thing. It's just something that I notice and it's neat.
It's because I identify with this fandom. Specifically, the Stray Kids fandom is called Stay, which that's another part of the consumerism, along with the Skizoo that we talked about earlier. But also every single K-pop band has a name for their fan club. We are called Stay. I say we because I identify as a Stay. I also identify as a BTS ARMY.
I do want to pitch to those of y'all out there that like in the occasion of Megan and I like meeting someone at a Buc-ee's that is a fan of those, that it needs to be called Catch and Stays.
No, like the day after the concert, when we were driving home, the closest Buc-ee's, that was the same one that we visited on the way in, had so many Stray Kids people wearing the concert tour t-shirt.
If you are hearing me right now, I want credit for this. If you meet other fans of Stray Kids and you call that catching stays, you heard it from me.
You don't know about this, but there actually is a way for us to identify each other.
It should be catching stays.
No, it's actually a move.
Mine's better.
No, like literally a member from the band actually said, hey, if you want to figure out if you've met another fan in the wild, do this move. No, it's worse than that.
It's not a dab?
No, it's worse than that. And I wouldn't do it, except I think that would make the dogs bark.
Mine's better.
I will have to show you after recording.
Mine's better.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and he did it stupidly on purpose so that it would embarrass all of us. But he said, do it with full commitment every time. I'm not doing that. So...
Catching stays is the way to do it.
Nah, I think somebody already coined that phrase.
No, I have a whole rant. I will do this on Twitch later when I am a little less inebriated.
You are a couple drinks in.
I am, because we're talking about K-pop. I'm sorry.
But you also wanted to talk real quick, your top concert experiences.
Yes.
I've talked about BTS twice. I've seen Stray Kids. That's mostly the entirety of my concert experience for now.
Yeah.
For now. So
I've had a lot of concert experience. A lot of my high school and college life was going to shows, whether they were like local shows of friends of mine or regional and occasionally a national show here or there. I am a music person. I love it. To go through my top 5, I would say probably Rush's R40 tour is a special one. No, that's not my top though. My top is definitely, if I'm thinking about it, Flogging Molly's St. Patrick's Day concert in Nashville. That's 100% my favorite concert I've been to.
what year was that? Or how old were you?
2012. I would have been in my early 20s.
So this was right before we met.
Yeah, this would have been a little before we met. I might not have even been 20. I wasn't, because I wasn't legally able to drink.
You weren't able to drink.
So it would have been 2009 or so.
Was it just you, or did anybody else go with you?
I went with my friend Luke, and I won't share his full name.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Without his permission.
Luke, if you're listening, hi.
Yeah, hey buddy. We've been to a lot of concerts together. We went to Riot Fest together, and that was a lot of fun. And that's on this list too. But my top concert is definitely Flogging Molly. I was 15.
Wow.
No, I drove. I was 16. And Luke and I went, it was at the War Memorial Auditorium in Nashville, which is sort of a highfalutin. We've seen shows there that were kind of fancy since then.
Fancy schmancy.
I think they don't know who they invited. Flogging Molly is an Irish punk band. On St. Patrick's Day, we got in there. Luke and I were early to the show. We made it on the wall. We were on the barricade.
Oh, wow.
It was a great show. They played songs from Within a Mile of Home, it was just such a good show. They played all their hits. I don't know if you've listened to much Flogging Molly, but man, is that a great band. With that Flogging Molly show, 2 things I remember was being 16. One, I crowd surfed for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Being on the barrier. We made it early. We listened to a band called Money Brother that was really good. That was an Eastern European band. Had a saxophone player that was incredible. But I crowd surfed. My buddy who was with me crowd surfed and got dropped and hurt his back pretty good. I did not. I was way lighter than I am now. But I crowd surfed. It was good. We got to a song that was a little heavier and there was a mosh pit. Someone hit me in the face and then I hit them in the face and they hit me in the face and I dropped and they picked me up and hugged me and the song switched to Within a Mile of Home and we sang it together arm in arm. I then went to grab a bottle of water and the person at the table handed me 2 pints of Guinness.
That's right. I forgot
And I said, I will die. And someone took them from me and gave me a liter of water. I was, again, 17 at the oldest.
You see how he keeps changing his age here?
It was under 20 for sure. That was the best concert I've ever been to. Flogging Molly was a ton of fun.
Are they still touring?
They do.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see them again. That band has so many fond memories for me.
We'll have to keep an eye out.
I love Flogging Molly. Otherwise, Riot Fest.
You talk about Riot Fest a lot.
In particular, seeing Gogol Bordello. That's the most roughed up I've ever been at a concert. I did
not go to this one, but we were married by this point.
Because I went to the casino nearby in Detroit. We visited a friend in Detroit after the festival, and I made my money back from the concert. And I called you and was like, tell me to leave this casino. But no, that was, we saw Fiddler, we saw Danzig, but the best was Gogol Bordello, and I got truly beat to hell at that concert.
Didn't you also see Wu-Tang Clan?
Wu-Tang was there, and I did see them.
Was it legit Wu-Tang Clan?
Oh, it was so good. I was a straight edge kid at the time and did not partake in any substances, but man, I was close enough that I felt it. But no, Gogol was definitely my second favorite concert. After that, the next two are both Hank Williams III. And I remember going to that with a couple friends. We had a friend with us who was nowhere near big enough a young woman who should not have been in the pit. And my buddy and I, like, standing on the other side of her, making sure she didn't get creamed.
Mm.
But seeing Hank III, who is like a specter of his grandfather, was an incredible, incredible show. And I remember I wore a Kid Rock shirt thinking it was a joke, and a dude telling me, yo, you want to get your shit kicked in? And I was like, no, it's a joke. I'm sorry.
Did you turn your shirt inside out?
I did not. I wore it as a joke. That was at the end. For my last favorite show, I'm going to say a show that was my band's show.
Oh, yeah.
Vash the Stampede's $50 billion show as we closed out our local venue as they shuttered their doors. They let my band pick the bands that played with us. We played with Gravity Cosmonaut and Magnum Opera and a couple other people, and it was a great time. And I think we have a local artist who is always our intro and closing music. I'm going to switch that and play a Vash the Stampede song for this one.
Yeah, we'll play it at the end, I think.
Yeah, just for funsies. Because I love my buddies, my two brothers who I played music with for so long.
So then I'll ask you this question. If any of the local bands from that time were listening to this podcast right now and approached you after listening to this, say, hey, let's get back together and do something, would you do it?
Any of them. I love you all. Every time I go to Possum Stock, which is our local music festival, I miss you all dearly. Cody Parson and our friends from Whiskey Angel. Yeah, Jacob, if you're listening to this, I hope your clothing line is doing good. I love you all.
I'm sad I only got to see one show of Vash the Stampede.
We will make that right one day.
It was your very last show, and we were just starting the date, and I only got to see one.
We'll make that right. I will say there is a great collection of local music that I would love to share on here.
Mm-hmm.
But no, all you guys, love you all. I hosted a lot of shows at my parents' barn behind the house where we had our DIY music venue we called The Shed and charged people $3 to come see shows.
If it wasn't obvious before, we're very much, he and I, music people. Very much so.
I'm an arts guy.
I mean, I am too. I have to be exposed to a lot of music as my career, so. But this has gotten to be a pretty long episode.
Yeah.
You want to call it here?
Let's finish it out real quick. Top 5 concert wish list. Tell me who you'd want to see.
I don't really have much of a wish list. I would love to see BTS again. I was supposed to back in 2019 on the Love Yourself tour, but those tickets sold out fast and then they got resold by scammers for thousands of dollars upsale, and I didn't get to go. I would love to go see BTS again. I would love to see Stray Kids again, hopefully in an indoor venue that'll treat people better. It's rumored now because Bangtan said something on TikTok last night at the Orlando tour that they're supposed to do another tour next year. I hope they rest. I'd love to see Blackpink. Most of my wish list is going to be K-pop stuff because it's just K-pop concerts are a party. It's so fun. To add one little final thing, I am getting a little bit excited about it. We have another concert lined up for us to go to, both of us together.
Yes, I'm so excited because it's on my top 5.
Speaking of your wish list, who are we going to go see later this year?
Yeah, we're going to go see late summer Coheed and Cambria, one of my top bands that I've wanted to see for forever, and I'm really, really excited. My brother and sister-in-law are joining us, theoretically, and it's going to be a great time. I'll throw out my other top 5 just for funsies now. I would love to see Titus Andronicus. The Monitor is one of the best albums ever made. I'd love to see Bruce Springsteen perform Nebraska, something that I will never see. Bruce being the boss, being a little old now, and also out with a lot of the fans who would like. The Proto Men, I'd love to watch either Act 1 or Act 2. Or this is one my father reminded me of that wasn't on my list up until now. I'd love to see a classical performance like at a symphony of Rick Wakeman's Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Oh, yeah. We do need to go see more symphonies. We haven't been since our baby moon to see Star Wars in concert. That was amazing.
I have a lot of concerts I'd love to see. I have a lot of bands I love, a lot of music I love. I'm a music guy. But that's good. There's lots of good music to be had. If you're listening to this, comment and share your favorite albums. We'd love to listen to them.
And if you've been to a Stray Kids concert, please also comment and share the love.
Yep. Which fursona is your favorite?
No, stop that. It's not a fursona. This guy.
Oh, goodness.
Well, I think we'll close out, as we always do, with a joke. And I'm going to choose an Atlanta joke.
Ooh.
Okay. What do you call a happy Atlanta?
A Haplana?
A peachy city.
Oh, I love it. If you're listening to this, support local shops.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hello, friends. This is Casey here. So I said I would play a song from my old band, Vash the Stampede. Having spoken with my 2 best friends and the other members of that band, we decided to present a jam track that we did that we didn't know we were recording when we played it. The title is from a friend who was in the room's Wiccan manual that she was reading at the time. So I present to you Words of Power / Constructing a Sigil. I hope you enjoy it.